You stir gently, as though waking from a dream. Your eyes are still heavy, your breath slow, the world around you muffled like the sound of waves behind a closed door. And when you finally blink, when your lashes lift, you realize you are not in your own room. No. You are lying on a smooth stone bench, cool against your skin. Above you stretches a sky of pale gray, the soft hue of early morning. A bell rings in the distance, low, solemn, and resonant, its sound rolling across the rooftops like the voice of a giant calling the town awake. You sit up slowly, your body light, as though you are not entirely bound by weight. The air carries the scent of wood smoke, freshly baked bread, and something less pleasant, an earthy tang of unwashed bodies and animals tethered nearby. You glance around. You are in a medieval square. The ground beneath you is paved with cobblestones, uneven but worn smooth from countless footsteps. Narrow houses of timber and stone lean toward each other, their upper floors jutting out as though whispering secrets. Faded banners hang across the square, stirring gently in the wind. And everywhere, people, townsfolk in coarse woolen garments, children running with bare feet, merchants arranging their wares upon wooden carts. Yet, something unusual lingers in the air. The people are not merely going about their morning errands. They are gathering, slowly but surely, toward the center of the square. Their voices murmur in low anticipation, like the hush before church service. And then you see it. At the very heart of the square rises a tall wooden structure, a kind of stage, raised with beams and planks. Upon it stands a single man in a dark robe, his hood pulled low, holding a roll of parchment. His voice, deep and deliberate, drifts across the gathering crowd. You cannot hear every word, not yet, but you catch the rhythm, the cadence. It is an announcement. You rise to your feet, almost floating through the press of villagers. No one questions your presence. No one seems surprised to see you. It is as though you have always belonged here, a silent witness among them. The robed man clears his throat. He raises the parchment high, unrolls it, and begins. By order of the magistrate, in accordance with the laws of our good town. The crowd hushes. Children are pulled close by their mothers. The man's words are heavy, slow, meant to be remembered. Today, there will be punishment. You feel the square grow colder, though the morning sun is beginning to rise. And as you drift closer to the wooden platform, you realize this is not a stage for performance. It is a scaffold of justice. The robed man speaks again, his voice carrying strange phrases. Mockery and deceit. Unfit conduct before neighbors. The cucking stool shall serve as reminder. You pause. The cucking stool. You have heard the term before, perhaps in whispers of history, perhaps in dreams. It was not for thieves, nor killers, but for those whose tongues were deemed troublesome. Nagging wives, quarrelsome neighbors, those who gossiped too much or disturbed the peace. Your eyes follow the gestures of the townsfolk, and soon you see it. A long wooden beam, mounted with a chair at one end, balanced like a seesaw above the edge of a dark pond beside the square. Already the chair creaks in the morning air, its wood damp from use. The crowd parts, and a figure is brought forth. A woman, her hair tangled, her clothes rough but not ragged. She does not look fearful, only weary, perhaps humiliated, her lips pressed tightly together. Two guards guide her, not roughly, but firmly, toward the waiting chair. You move as though carried by the air itself, finding yourself closer now, among the front row of villagers. You can see the woman's expression clearly. She glances neither left nor right, only forward. The chair waits. The robed man raises his voice again, intoning words of ritual. Let this serve as lesson that the tongue, if unbridled, shall find its master. The guards lift her gently but decisively into the chair. The crowd exhales as one. A rope is fastened across her lap, securing her in place. For a moment, there is silence. Even the birds upon the eaves seem to pause. Then the beam tips forward. The chair swings out over the pond. And with a slow, deliberate motion, she is lowered into the water. The splash is loud, startling in its suddenness. Ripples break the mirror surface of the pond, spreading outward until they lick against the stone rim. Bubbles rise. Then the chair is lifted once more. The woman emerges, dripping, gasping softly, strands of wet hair clinging to her face. The crowd watches, solemn, yet curious. There is no laughter, no cruelty in their faces, only the belief, deep, quiet, that this is how order is kept. Again the chair tips. Again she descends into the dark water. And again she rises, coughing softly, her body shivering. The punishment is not meant to kill, only to humble, to soak the fire of quarrel with the coldness of shame. As you watch, you feel a strange calm. The punishment is bizarre, yes, but in this moment, it seems less an act of cruelty and more a ritual, an old habit of a world that sought order in ways that feel alien to your own. The crowd does not cheer, does not cheer. They simply observe, as though witnessing a necessity, like rain falling upon the earth. The robed man closes the parchment. The guards release the woman, who stumbles away, drenched but alive. The townsfolk murmur quietly, dispersing once more into their daily routines. The marketplace resumes its hum, as though nothing unusual has happened. You step back, breathing slowly. The air tastes of damp wood and cool water. And for a long moment, you stand still, watching the ripples upon the pond fade back into stillness. Somewhere behind you, the bell tolls again. Its sound seems to vibrate through your bones, calling you onward, deeper into this dream of the past. And so, you drift with the crowd, carried like a leaf upon a stream, wondering what other strange and gentle echoes of justice this world will reveal to you next. You linger in the square for a long while, though time seems softer here, as though it moves not by minutes or hours, but by breaths and heartbeats. The people around you scatter, their footsteps echoing faintly over the stones. Some return to their market stalls, arranging wheels of cheese, bolts of rough linen, or baskets of apples with patient hands. Others drift toward the church at the far end of the square, where the heavy doors remain open, dark as a cavern's mouth. You stand still, letting your senses unfurl slowly, like petals in the morning. The air is cool, laced with the faint scent of horses, hay, and iron. Somewhere nearby, a blacksmith's hammer strikes against an anvil, slow and steady, like a heartbeat that belongs to the town itself. Children's laughter bursts for a moment, then vanishes into the narrow streets that twist away like veins from the heart of the square. And you are simply here, present, breathing. You glance once more toward the pond, where the last ripples fade into glassy silence. The punishment has ended. The woman, dripping wet, is already gone. Perhaps she has gone home to dry by a hearth, to scold her children into silence, or perhaps simply to rest. Whatever her life, it continues. And the town breathes on. Yet even as you stand, you feel a pull, a strange invitation in the air, like a whisper of parchment turning, or a candle's flame flickering in a draught. Your feet carry you across the cobblestones, almost without thought. The pillory. Soon you find yourself before another structure, familiar, yet unsettling. A pillory, the heavy wooden frame with its 3 holes, 1 for the head, 2 for the hands. Its wood is dark, scarred, worn smooth in places where countless necks have rested. You reach out, your fingers grazing the surface. The wood feels cool, almost damp. It hums faintly beneath your touch, as though holding the memories of those who once stood trapped within. The pillory was not meant for bloodshed, nor for pain of the flesh, but for shame, for exposure. The body was bound, yes, but it was the eyes, the faces of neighbors, that carried the sharpest sting. You imagine the square filling once more, voices rising. A man, perhaps a baker, who cheated in his loaves, selling them smaller than promised, or a merchant who tipped the scales to his favor, or perhaps a thief who could not resist the temptation of another's purse. They would be led here, placed within the pillory, their neck bent forward, their hands protruding helplessly. And then the hours would stretch. The sun crawling across the sky, shadows shifting like tides. And all the while, the townsfolk would come. Some might pity, offering a sip of water, a whispered prayer. But others would scorn. Rotten fruit, old cabbage leaves, perhaps even mud flung into the prisoner's face. The pillory was not the magistrate's hand alone. It was the hand of the whole town, deciding together how shame should taste. As you trace the rough grain of the wood, you feel a phantom weight on your own neck, a ghostly pressure of wood closing around your wrists. You breathe deeply, and the sensation fades. Yet you understand now, in a way that no book or tale could have shown you. The punishment was not only a spectacle, it was a mirror. A reminder to all who watched that they too were bound by the fragile thread of reputation. The square hums faintly again, though no punishment is taking place now. Only echoes, only memories that cling like cobwebs. A procession passes. A soft sound stirs you from your reverie. The rhythmic shuffle of feet, the creak of wooden wheels. You turn and see a procession winding slowly into the square. At its center rolls a cart, drawn by 2 oxen, their broad heads swaying gently. Upon the cart sits a figure, robed in rough cloth, hands bound before them. Behind, 2 guards follow, their spears upright, their faces blank with duty. The cart stops before the pillory. The figure, tall, thin, face shadowed beneath a hood, is lifted down. The crowd gathers once more, though this time smaller, quieter, as though weary of repetition. The parchment is read aloud. You catch fragments, one. Falsehood before the court, mocking the holy rites, to stand in public view. The figure says nothing as the wood closes around their neck and hands. The crowd does not jeer this time. They only watch, their eyes curious, some even tired. A punishment, yes, but also routine. You linger nearby, watching the prisoner shift uncomfortably, trying to ease the strain in their shoulders. Hours pass, or perhaps only minutes. Here, in this dreamlike square, time is unbound, flowing as gently as a stream beneath ice. Shadows lengthen. The prisoner breathes steadily, and when the guards return to release them, there is no applause, no cheer, only silence. They are led away. The pillory stands empty once more. The weight of the square. You begin to sense the pattern. This square is not only a place of trade and chatter. It is a theater of justice, a stage upon which ordinary lives are made examples. It is not cruelty for its own sake. It is not the spectacle of blood you once imagined when you thought of the Middle Ages. No, it is quieter, stranger, at once more gentle and more unsettling. Because it relies not on the lash or the axe, but on the eyes of neighbors, the sting of shame, the slow hours beneath the gaze of all. You breathe deeply, letting the feeling wash through you. The punishments are bizarre, yes, but in this world, they are simply part of the air, as natural as market cries or church bells. The bell tolls again, louder now, pulling your gaze to the tower above. The sound vibrates through your chest, resonant, steady. And with its fading echo, You feel the world shift around you, as though the very cobblestones are carrying you forward. Onward, toward the next story, this strange dream will unfold. And so, the square fades slowly into mist. The market stalls blur. The pond stills into glass. The pillory grows faint as a memory. And you drift softly, gently, into the next chapter of your wandering. The mist drifts gently across your vision. The square, with its cobblestones and pillory, dissolves like ink washed from parchment. The sound of the bell stretches, then changes, as if reshaped by distance. Its deep tolling softens, turning into a more measured rhythm. The echo of a smaller bell, rung not for crowds, but for prayer. Your eyelids grow heavy. You breathe in, and when you open your eyes again, you are no longer standing in the bustling square. You are in the quiet courtyard of the monastery. The air here feels different, cleaner, cooler, filled with the faint fragrance of damp stone and wax candles. Tall walls of pale stone surround you, enclosing a square cloister where arches open to a small garden at the center. The garden itself is modest, herbs growing in neat rows, a fig tree leaning gracefully, a fountain trickling softly into a basin of carved stone. A few monks pass along the cloister, their black robes brushing quietly against the ground. Their heads are bowed, their steps measured, as though the rhythm of their feet were another kind of prayer. None speak. Their silence is almost a living thing, wrapping the courtyard in a cocoon of calm. You take a slow step forward. Your own footsteps sound loud against the flagstones, though no one turns to look. It is as if you are unseen, drifting like a ghost among them. In this place, punishment is not for spectacle. It is quieter, inward, aimed not at the body, but at the soul. And yet it is no less strange, no less heavy. The punishment of silence. A monk approaches, not toward you, but past you. He is young, his face pale in the morning light. Yet there is a weight about him. His lips are pressed together tightly, as though words press behind them like a tide held back by a fragile dam. He carries no tools, no books, only silence. You notice something. Around his neck hangs a small wooden board, suspended by a cord. Upon the board, written in dark letters, is a single word, silentium. The meaning is clear. He has been commanded to silence. Not the gentle silence of prayer, but the heavy silence of punishment. For days, perhaps weeks, he must speak no word. He must eat without prayer, labor without greeting, endure the company of his brothers, without a single sound to prove his presence. You watch him pass. His eyes flicker toward the others, but none meet his gaze. It is not cruelty. It is obedience. To acknowledge him would break the silence he has been ordered to bear. And so he drifts, like a shadow among shadows, carrying the weight of words unspoken. You feel the strangeness of it, deep in your chest. In this place, silence is not only absence, it is punishment, exile, a kind of invisible wall built around the heart. You shiver softly, though the air is not cold. Bread and water. From the cloister, you wander into the refectory, the long hall where meals are taken. Wooden tables stretch in perfect lines, polished smooth by countless hands. At the far end, a crucifix hangs, the figure of Christ carved in simple, humble strokes. The hall is nearly empty now, save for one man sitting alone. Before him lies a wooden bowl containing only a crust of bread, coarse and dark, and a cup of water. This is another punishment. Bread and water, the simplest of meals, stripped of warmth, stripped of variety. Not to starve, but to remind, to humble. The monk eats slowly, each bite a prayer of patience. His eyes are lowered. You notice how thin his frame is, how pale his skin appears in the candlelight. He is not broken, only subdued, reduced to the barest necessities of life. And yet, there is a strange peace about him too. as though the punishment itself is a kind of discipline, a way of returning to the beginning, to the simplest act of survival. You sit at the far end of the table, though he does not notice you. You hear the faint crunch of bread between his teeth, the soft swallow of water. Each sound is magnified in the silence of the hall. It is almost musical, in its own way, a rhythm of humility. The stone cell. You drift further, carried by the gentle pull of curiosity. At the edge of the monastery lies a heavy oak door bound with iron. It creaks open beneath your hand, revealing a narrow corridor of cold stone. Torches burn faintly, their smoke lingering like forgotten incense. At the end of the hall is a cell. A monk sits within, upon a plain wooden stool. His hands rest in his lap, his back straight. He is not bound. The door is not locked. And yet, he does not leave. This is enclosure, a punishment as old as the monastery itself. To be shut away in solitude, not by chains, but by command. To remain alone with one's thoughts, with prayer, with silence, until the soul bends, softens, yields. You watch him. His lips move faintly, whispering words you cannot hear. Perhaps prayers, perhaps confessions. The shadows flicker across his face, hollowing his cheeks, deepening the hollows beneath his eyes. Time stretches. You feel as though you too have been sitting there, waiting, whispering, letting the silence press against you until it becomes a weight upon your chest. And yet again, there is no cruelty here, only discipline. Only the belief that to punish the soul is to save it. A whisper of chant. Suddenly, faintly, you hear voices. Not loud, not harsh, gentle, woven together like threads of silk. It is the chant of the monks, rising from the chapel nearby. You follow the sound, your footsteps soft against the stone floor. Inside the chapel, rows of monks stand, their heads bowed, their voices blending in sacred harmony. The chant rolls slowly, endlessly, like the tide against the shore. And you realize, even here, punishment is not only silence, it is also sound. For the monk condemned to silence, to hear this chant and remain mute is a sharper trial than bread and water, sharper than solitude. It is to be cut off from the music of the soul, forced to stand outside the river, while others drink deeply of its flow. The sound seeps into your bones. It is soft. It is endless. It is dreamlike. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you feel yourself chanting, too, your voice joining theirs, though no sound leaves your lips. You are both part of them, and apart from them. Both witness and shadow. The bell. Again, the chant fades. The chapel empties. Once more, you are alone, standing in the cool hush of the monastery. And then, the bell rings again. Deep, resonant, calling, always calling. It vibrates through your ribs, through the stone beneath your feet, through the air itself. And with its echo, the edges of the monastery begin to soften. The arches blur. The fountain dissolves. The cloister fades into mist. You take one last breath of incense, one last taste of silence. And then the world shifts again, carrying you onward. Thus ends the second chapter of your wandering. From the noisy square of justice to the silent halls of the monastery, you have witnessed punishments stranger than pain. The burden of silence, the thin meal of bread and water, the weight of solitude. And now, carried by the bell's call, you drift into the next part of your journey. The bell still hums in your bones. But now, its sound grows deeper, heavier, until it no longer resembles the small toll of a monastery tower. It swells, echoing like thunder over stone walls, until you realize you are no longer in a cloister. You stand now at the threshold of a castle hall. The air is cooler here, heavy with the smell of damp stone and iron. High above, banners hang from rafters, their colors faded, their edges frayed by time. Torchlight flickers against the walls, painting shadows that seem to lean and whisper like listening courtiers. Before you stretches a courtroom, though not as you know it in your own world. It is a long chamber, lined with benches of carved oak. At the far end, raised upon a dais, sits the throne of judgment. Upon it rests the magistrate, his robe trimmed with fur, his face grave and unreadable. Beside him, clerks unroll parchment, their quills scratching faintly, recording every breath, every word. The hall is not crowded, yet it hums with tension. Nobles sit in silence. Guards line the walls, their spears upright, their faces impassive. And in the very center, beneath the weight of every watching eye, stands the accused. Trial by ordeal. The clerk's voice rings out, thin yet sharp. Accused of false oath, accused of deceiving his neighbor, accused of profaning sacred trust. The man in the center lowers his head. His hands tremble, though whether from fear or exhaustion, you cannot tell. The magistrate does not shout. His voice is calm, measured, but heavy with finality. Let the truth be shown by ordeal. At once, a stir moves through the court. Guards step forward, carrying a small iron rod, its surface darkened, its tip placed carefully into the heart of a brazier, glowing with coals. The iron rests there, heating slowly, until it glows faint red, then orange. The air thickens with the scent of hot metal. This is the trial by hot iron, a test not of strength nor of words, but of the hand of God. The accused must carry the glowing iron for several paces. His hand will then be bound, wrapped in cloth. After 3 days, the wound will be inspected. If it heals clean, he is innocent. If it festers, he is guilty. You feel the stillness in the hall as the man reaches out. His fingers tremble. His lips move in silent prayer. The guard nods once, and the iron is placed in his palm. A hiss. The smell of flesh meeting heat. Man walks, 1 step, 2, 3. His teeth clench, his eyes close, his breath sharp. Then the iron is taken, dropped once more into the coals. The man falls to his knees, cradling his hand. The court does not jeer. It does not mock. It waits, quiet, patient, knowing the true judgment lies not today, but in 3 nights, when God himself will speak through the wound. You shiver softly, though no one notices you. You are only a shadow among shadows, a drifting witness to a world where faith and fire are the same. The duel, the trial ends. The man is carried away, his hand bound. But another case rises quickly in its place. 2 men step forward, broad, armored, each with sword at their side. Their faces are grim, their eyes locked upon one another with a hatred that fills the room like smoke. The clerk reads again. Dispute of land, refusal of oath, no witness, no proof. The magistrate raises his hand. His words are simple. Let combat decide. This is the trial by duel. The 2 men bow stiffly, then step to the center of the hall. The floor is cleared, torches pulled back, benches pushed away. A ring forms, nobles leaning forward, guards standing alert. The duel is not swift. The swords clash, steel ringing sharp against stone walls. One man pushes, the other parries. Sparks fly, feet scrape against the floor. You find yourself holding your breath, though you know you cannot be struck. You are only a witness, untouchable. The duel stretches, long and heavy, until at last one man falters. His knee bends, his guard slips. The other presses forward, driving him to the ground. A sword rests at his throat. The magistrate's voice cuts through the silence. Judgment is given. The defeated man lowers his gaze. He does not beg. He does not speak. His fate is sealed, not by law, not by parchment, but by the strength of his opponent's arm, and by the belief that God has guided the victor's blade. The hall exhales. The duel is over. But you, standing in the shadows, feel a strange hollowness. Here, truth is not a matter of fact, nor witness, nor reason. Here, truth is decided by fire or by blood. Whispers of the court. The proceedings continue. Case after case. Petty theft, broken oaths, accusations without proof. Some are fined, some are whipped. Some are simply dismissed, their words fading like dust in the air. But all the while, the hall feels heavy, as though the stone walls themselves are listening, absorbing the weight of centuries of judgment. You look up, tracing the banners that hang limp in the still air. Each one bears a crest, a mark of lineage, of families long gone. Their colors fade, but the memory of their justice remains, carved into the very stones beneath your feet. You realize this hall is not only a place of law. It is the theater, a stage where the drama of belief and doubt, guilt and innocence is played out for all to see. And yet, it is also deeply quiet. The punishments here are harsh, yes, but they are carried out with a solemnity that feels almost like ritual. The closing bell, the trial's end, the hall empties. Guards file out. Nobles drift away. The magistrate departs in silence, his robe trailing like a shadow. And once more, you are left alone, standing in the vast, echoing space. Your footsteps carry softly across the stones as you move towards the great doors. Beyond them, the air is cool, fresh, touched by the scent of rain upon earth. The courtyard lies open before you, lit by the fading sun. And then the bell tolls again. Not the small bell of the monastery, not the heavy bell of the town square, but a new tone, deep, resonant, carrying a note of sorrow. It rolls through the air like a wave, pulling at your very soul. The castle walls begin to blur. The banners dissolve into mist. The torches fade, leaving only their scent of smoke. And you drift again, carried onward by the sound, into the next chapter of your wandering. Thus ends the third chapter of your journey. From the noisy square, to the silent monastery, to the solemn courtroom, you have followed the path of justice as it winds ever deeper. Each punishment stranger than the last. Each one less about pain, more about belief. And still, the bell calls you further. Further into the dream. Further into the heart of the Middle Ages. You open your eyes again. This time, you find yourself not in a quiet chamber, but in the very heart of a bustling medieval town square. The air is alive with scents. The warm fragrance of fresh bread drifting from a nearby bakery, the sharp tang of aging cheese resting on wooden stalls, and the faint sweetness of spring flowers carried by the morning breeze. These aromas fold around you gently, as if tucking you into a soft blanket. Beneath your feet, the cobblestones are cool and uneven. Above, the rising sun stretches golden rays across the rooftops, glinting off small glass windows and timbered beams. Slowly, the square fills with townsfolk. Some are here to buy and sell. Others are here only to watch. And in the murmuring crowd, you hear laughter, the shuffle of shoes, the distant cooing of pigeons, and, somewhere far away, the tolling of a church bell. Drawn toward the center of the square, you notice a wooden platform standing tall. Upon it, two figures are locked in place. Their heads and hands are trapped in the heavy boards of a pillory. The man has a ragged beard, sweat shining on his brow under the morning sun. The woman beside him has closed her weary eyes, as though retreating into silence. The people around them laugh. Rotten apples and shriveled carrots are tossed at their bodies, striking with dull thuds. But to you, the scene carries no cruelty, only an odd stillness, a strange hush beneath the noise. The laughter in your ears softens, becoming almost like the gentle rush of wind through leaves. You step closer. The scent of sun-warmed wood drifts up from the pillory. For a moment, you imagine how the grain of the timber must feel against the prisoner's skin, rough, dry, unyielding. And yet, time itself seems to slow here, as if the entire square is caught between one heartbeat and the next. Not far from the pillory stands another device, simpler, but no less humiliating. The stocks. A man sits with his feet clamped firmly in place, ankles protruding from wooden holes. His arms are free, but he cannot rise. Children gather near him, giggling as they poke at his toes with thin willow sticks. Their high laughter ripples across the square. You study his face. There is no anger, no shame, only a quiet resignation, as though he has surrendered not only his freedom, but his very voice. His stillness makes the commotion around him blur, until the children's laughter blends with the call of market hawkers and the rustle of skirts into something like a lullaby. Your attention is drawn next to the far side of the square. There, prepared for another kind of punishment, rests a curious wooden chair, the cucking stool. The crowd shifts eagerly toward it. You move with them, your steps soft, the echo of your soles against the cobblestones forming a calming rhythm. An older woman has been seated upon the stool. She is not bound by ropes, but townsfolk stand on either side, keeping her firmly in place. You overhear whispers. She is accused of gossiping, of speaking too freely, and today she will be paraded through the town before being dunked into the river. Her face is pale, her eyes ringed with fatigue. And yet, when she looks up, her gaze drifts across the crowd until, strangely, it feels as though it lands on you. For a fleeting instant, her tired eyes seem to plead for understanding. And in that instant, you are no longer a visitor from another age. You are part of this world, a silent witness drawn into its unfolding story. She mutters softly, not loud enough for the mob to hear, but to catch the faintest whisper. Perhaps a prayer, perhaps a defense. The words dissolve into the breeze, but you sense their weight, like ripples vanishing on water. Around her, the crowd swells. Some shout insults, some laugh. Yet their voices merge together into a single, indistinct hum, more texture than meaning. You find your focus drifting elsewhere. The flutter of pigeons lifting into the sky, the sing-song cry of a baker advertising fresh loaves. Warm bread, and the hollow clop of horses' hooves echoing down a narrow lane. All these sounds weave together into something strangely soothing. They fill the air like soft music, as if the entire marketplace is breathing in rhythm. The square grows busier by the moment. Mothers arrive with baskets on their arms, tugging children close. Merchants pause their trading to watch. Even travelers lean from the edges, eager for spectacle. Faces glow with excitement, anticipation, curiosity. And yet, within you, there is stillness. You place your hand against the rough wall of a nearby building. The stone is cool, textured, grounding. It anchors you here, in this moment, in this square. Then a murmur ripples through the crowd, swelling into a wave of voices. You hear the words whispered again and again. The shame parade. The shame parade is about to begin. Men step forward, leading a small procession. Prisoners, chained loosely together, are brought out from the town hall. Their heads are bowed, their clothing torn. The people draw back to form a path. You find yourself moving with them, following the tide of townsfolk. The cobblestones beneath your feet click in rhythm with the crowd steps. Slowly, softly, the day carries you forward into the next act of medieval humiliation. The crowd presses forward, the air thick with anticipation. You follow, swept into the rhythm of footsteps over stone. The clinking of chains echoes faintly, like small bells muffled in cloth. The prisoners move slowly, each step measured, as though the weight of the town's eyes were heavier than the iron links binding them. A man at the front carries a wooden sign hanging from his neck. The words are painted crudely, But even if you cannot read them all, you know what it says. Thief. His clothes are patched and worn thin. His shoulders sag, yet his face remains curiously calm. Children point and giggle, their laughter bright, but to your ears it is softened, stretched thin, until it sounds like the distant rush of wind across meadow grass. Behind him walks a woman. Her hair is tangled, her dress faded with dirt and age. A bundle of straw has been tied around her waist as a mockery, a symbol of her supposed sin. She does not cry. She does not resist. She walks as though already far away, her gaze fixed on some horizon only she can see. The townsfolk call out. Words of ridicule spill like rain, harsh and biting, but you hear only fragments. Shame, sinner, fool. Their voices blur together into a droning chorus, strangely lulling, like bees humming in a summer field. The prisoners are led around the square. At each corner, they are made to stop while the crowd jeers louder. You stand close enough to see the beads of sweat forming at their temples, the trembling of weary legs, the pale knuckles of hands bound behind backs. And yet, you also sense something beyond humiliation, something quieter. A strange kind of stillness settles over the scene, as though time itself has slowed to let you study every detail. You notice the way dust rises from the cobblestones with each step, curling in golden motes through the sunlight. You notice how the air smells faintly of iron, the scent of the chains mingling with the sweetness of honey cakes sold by a vendor nearby. You notice the way the townspeople's shadows stretch long and thin across the ground, merging until it seems as though the prisoners walk in a river of darkness. And in that river, you too are walking. The procession halts at the fountain in the center of the square. Its water sparkles in the morning light, droplets catching rainbows as they leap from stone to sky and fall again. The prisoners are made to stand beside it, exposed to every eye. One by one, their crimes are read aloud by a town crier, his voice booming, words rolling like thunder. Yet to you, even his proclamations are softened, dulled by distance, until they become nothing more than tones, deep and resonant, like the steady beat of a drum. When the woman's name is called, she lifts her chin briefly. Her eyes meet yours once more. In that fleeting second, the crowd fades. The jeering, the pointing, the laughter, all dissolve. There is only her gaze, heavy with exhaustion, but also with something else. Perhaps defiance, perhaps sorrow, perhaps both. And for a heartbeat, you wonder if she sees you, not as a stranger, but as a companion in this moment of silence amidst the storm. Then she lowers her head, and the spell is broken. The crier's voice continues, rolling over her name, her supposed crime, and the punishment still to come. The crowd stirs again. Children dart closer, tossing pebbles toward the prisoner's feet. Merchants lean against their stalls, watching with idle amusement. An old man shakes his head slowly, muttering beneath his breath, though his words are lost in the noise. You feel the press of bodies around you, the warmth of so many gathered souls, the subtle push and pull of movement as the square breathes like a living thing. Yet within you, there is quiet. Every sensation, the warmth of the sun on your face, the cool touch of stone beneath your fingertips, the faint tickle of breeze against your hair, settles you deeper, as though the world itself is wrapping you in stillness. The prisoners are led onward again, away from the fountain, towards the narrow lanes that twist through the town. The crowd follows, swelling, surging, eager to witness. You walk among them, your steps light, your heart unhurried. As you move through the streets, you notice details others overlook. The faded paint of shop signs, the rough edges of timber beams jutting from houses, the bright blue thread of cloth flapping from a window above, caught in the breeze. the way ivy curls along a stone wall, its leaves trembling faintly as though whispering secrets. The parade continues, weaving slowly through the town, until at last it returns to the square. The prisoners, weary, are guided once more onto the wooden platform. Some slump, heads bowed low. Others stand rigid, eyes distant, as though they have become statues carved from living stone. The crowd begins to disperse, voices fading, footsteps scattering. Slowly, the marketplace breathes again into ordinary life. Merchants return to their stalls. Mothers gather their children. The laughter dwindles, replaced by the softer sounds of trade and chatter. You remain still, watching as the last chains are removed, as the final jeers echo into silence. The sun climbs higher, spilling warmth over the square. Shadows shrink. The scent of bread drifts once more from the bakery. Life, as it always does, continues. And yet, something lingers. A sense of having witnessed not only punishment, but a mirror of the time itself. Its cruelties, its rituals, its strange mingling of justice and spectacle. You close your eyes for a moment. The sounds of the square blur together. The coo of pigeons, the chatter of merchants, the bubbling of the fountain. They fold around you like layers of cloth, soft and protective. The world grows quiet. When you open your eyes again, the square is empty. The pillory, the stocks, the stool, all stand silent, waiting. But the crowd is gone, the prisoners gone, the voices gone. Only sunlight remains, spilling gold across the cobblestones. You take a slow breath. The air is cool, fragrant, still. And you know somehow that your journey is not yet finished. You open your eyes to the sound of church bells. Their chime drifts slowly across the town, deep and resonant, like ripples spreading across still water. The square you remember from before is gone. Instead, you stand near the shadow of a stone church, its tall windows glowing with faint light from within. The air is cooler here. The scent of incense drifts from the open doors, mixing with the earthy fragrance of damp stone and old wood. People are gathering, their footsteps hushed, their voices low. There's no laughter this time, no eager jeering. Instead, there is solemnity, a heavy anticipation that presses gently on your chest. You step closer, and the crowd parts enough for you to see. In the center of the churchyard stands a wooden table. Upon it rests an iron bar, its ends already blackened by flame. A brazier burns beside it, coals glowing red, heat shimmering upward in soft waves. A man in robes stands nearby, his hands folded, his voice murmuring prayers in Latin. The words are strange, unfamiliar, yet their rhythm is soothing, gentle syllables rolling like water over stones. The townsfolk whisper. You hear fragments. Ordeal, justice, God will decide. Their words flow around you, soft and blurred, until they become no more than background music. At last, a figure is brought forward. It is a young man, his wrists bound loosely in front of him, his eyes wide but strangely calm. He is led to the table, where the priest lifts the iron with tongs and holds it aloft for all to see. The glow of the metal flickers against stone walls, casting long, wavering shadows across the crowd. The man kneels. His bonds are removed. Slowly, his hands are stretched forward. The priest lowers the iron bar onto his open palms. The air holds still. For a breath, there is silence. Then the young man rises, clutching the glowing weight, and walks 3 measured steps. The scent of heated metal mingles with the sharp, unmistakable tang of burning flesh. A gasp passes through the crowd, but to your ears, it is faint, softened, as though carried from far away. He drops the bar back onto the table. The priest covers his hands with clean cloths. The trial is done. In days to come, they will watch the wounds. If they heal clean, he will be deemed innocent. If they fester, guilty. The crowd exhales as though one body, Some nod, some cross themselves, others simply turn away. For them, justice has been entrusted not to men, but to something higher. You remain still, watching the glow fade from the iron, watching smoke curl upward like ghostly fingers. The hush of the crowd settles into your bones. It is heavy, yes, but not frightening. Instead, it is strangely calming, as though the stillness itself cradles you. Your eyes drift to another corner of the churchyard. There, by a pool of water ringed with stones, preparations are being made for another ordeal. Buckets are lowered, ropes tightened, timbers secured. The water reflects the sky, silver and glassy, its surface trembling whenever a breeze whispers across. A woman is led forward this time. Her face is pale, but steady. Her hair tied back, her steps deliberate. She wears no chains. Instead, ropes are fastened around her waist. She is to be lowered gently into the pool. The crowd gathers closer, murmuring. Words ripple. Witchcraft. Water rejects the guilty. Water accepts the innocent. Their belief is absolute, unshakable. You hear their faith in every hushed syllable. The ropes creak. Slowly, the woman is lowered into the pool. The water closes over her shoulders, her chest, her face. For a moment, there is silence, broken only by the faint lap of ripples against stone. Then, just as slowly, she rises again, lifted back into the air. Water streams from her hair, her dress, her outstretched arms. She coughs, gasps, then breathes. The crowd leans forward. Their eyes search for signs. Does the water hold her, or does it embrace her? Was she buoyed, or was she sunk? The judgment is whispered, passed from lip to lip, though no single voice rises above the rest. You, too, watch. Yet what you see is not guilt, nor innocence. You see only the way droplets fall, like beads of glass from her fingertips, catching sunlight as they fall to the ground. You see the steam rise faintly from her skin in the cool air. You hear her breath, sharp at first, then softening into steadiness. The ordeal is finished. The crowd disperses once more. The brazier burns low. The water lies still again. The priest gathers his robes and steps back into the church, his voice fading into the dark hush of its walls. And you remain, standing by the pool, your reflection trembling on the water's surface. The breeze lifts, brushing your cheek. The bells toll again, slower now, deeper, as though marking the close of something ancient. You close your eyes. The sounds fade, folding into silence. The scent of smoke, the dampness of stone, the faint taste of salt in the air, all settle into memory. When you open them again, the churchyard is empty. Only the brazier's faint smoke lingers, curling upward to vanish into the sky. You take a single step forward. The ground is cool beneath your feet, solid and grounding. And you know, there are more ordeals yet to witness. The quiet lingers as you walk from the churchyard, following a narrow path lined with uneven cobblestones. Your steps echo softly, each one swallowed by the cool hush of evening. The town feels different now, slower, subdued, as though the trials you witnessed left a shadow in the air. You turn a corner and find yourself near a wide meadow just beyond the walls. Torches flicker here, their flames bending in the wind. People gather again, not in tight clusters, but in a broad circle around a wooden platform built over a shallow stream. At its center sits a strange contraption, a chair mounted on a long beam, balanced like a seesaw. You recognize it, the cucking stool. It looks almost like a toy, yet the crowd's faces are solemn. The chair is meant for humiliation, a punishment as much of spectacle as of pain. A woman is led forward. She is older than the one from the ordeal by water, her hair streaked with gray, her voice raised in protest. She shouts at the onlookers, her words sharp, though to your ears they arrive softened, blurred, like echoes heard through layers of cloth. Still, Her spirit is unmistakable. She fights every step, though not with fists or kicks. She fights with her tongue, with words that tumble like stones from her mouth. The villagers answer with laughter, though it is not cruel. It is weary, almost ritualistic. They have seen this before. They know the pattern. She is strapped into the chair, the ropes drawn tight. The beam creaks as it is lowered, dipping her slowly into the water below. She gasps, sputters, flails against the bindings. The crowd chuckles again, but gently, like people exhaling relief. Then she is raised back into the air, dripping and furious, only to be lowered once more. The rhythm repeats, down into the cold water, up into the night air, down into silence, up into laughter. The beam moves slowly, like the pendulum of a clock, marking time, not in minutes, but in humiliation. You watch, your heart steady. To you, the scene is not cruel, but strangely hypnotic. The water glistens under torchlight, ripples spreading in soft rings with each dunking. The woman's cries blend with the creak of wood, the splash of water, the murmur of the crowd, until all becomes a single rhythm, a lullaby of repetition. When at last the punishment ends, she is released, her voice hoarse, her body trembling. She is led away, and the stool stands empty, swaying slightly in the night breeze. The crowd begins to scatter, their whispers fading into the fields. You remain. The stream gurgles softly, steady and eternal, its sound soothing against the quiet of the meadow. You close your eyes and breathe in the damp scent of earth and water. The world narrows to the feeling of air on your skin, the faint weight of mist settling on your hair, the slow exhale of your own breath. When you open your eyes again, the meadow is gone. Now you stand before a small stone bridge, arching over a narrow river. Lanterns line its edge, their flames dim but steady. At the center of the bridge, a wooden platform has been built. Upon it, a man kneels, his shoulders bare, his head bowed. A block of wood rests before him. This is no spectacle of laughter. This is punishment by shame. His crime is minor, yet his penance will last longer than the moment itself. For the executioner does not strike with blade or whip. Instead, he carves a mark into the man's flesh, a letter burned or cut into skin, forever branding him with his offense. You hear the crowd murmur again. Thief, liar, betrayer. The words drift like smoke, curling into the night, never landing with weight upon your shoulders. The iron is heated, glowing faintly as it is pressed to the man's skin. He stiffens, but makes no sound. Only the hiss of burning flesh breaks the silence, brief and sharp. Then it is over. The mark remains, shining angry red against pale skin. The man is released. He pulls his cloak around himself and walks quickly into the night, head bowed low. The crowd disperses once more, their footsteps soft against the stones of the bridge. Soon, only the lanterns remain, their light trembling across the water's surface. You lean on the bridge's edge, watching the river flow beneath. Its current is steady, timeless, whispering against the stones. You imagine how many have stood here before you, watching justice carried out, listening to the same water sing its eternal song. Your reflection wavers on the surface. For a moment, you see not yourself, but all those punished here, the dunked, the branded, the shamed. Their faces blur together, softened by time, by memory, by the flowing water that carries all things away. The night grows deeper. The lanterns flicker lower. A cool wind drifts over the bridge, brushing your skin like a gentle hand. You close your eyes once more, letting the sound of the river lull you. When you open them again, the bridge is empty. The lanterns are gone. Only the steady rhythm of your own breath remains. And you know, your journey through these punishments is far from finished. There are stranger things yet to come, stranger rituals waiting in the shadows of the medieval world. But for now, you let the quiet carry you. The sound of water, the coolness of stone beneath your hand, the softness of night wrapping around you. And slowly, gently, you drift deeper into the story's embrace. The air is colder now. You wake not to the chatter of a marketplace or the laughter of a crowd, but to silence, thick, heavy, almost breathing on its own. You open your eyes and find yourself standing in a narrow corridor, walls of rough stone pressing close on either side. A single torch flickers on the wall, its light trembling across damp surfaces. The air smells of iron and old water, carrying a taste of rust on your tongue. You take a step forward. The floor beneath you is uneven, slick with moisture. Your footsteps echo softly, returning to you as though the dungeon itself were whispering your movements back. The sound is not frightening. Instead, it is lulling, repetitive, steady, almost like the ticking of a faraway clock. Ahead, an iron door creaks open. You pass through and find yourself in a chamber lit by several torches. In its center stands a massive wooden frame, long, rectangular, with ropes and rollers at each end. It takes only a moment to recognize it. The rack. It looms like some sleeping beast, its surface polished from countless hands, its ropes frayed yet strong. You approach slowly. The wood smells faintly of smoke, and the ropes hold the musty scent of hemp. A hooded figure steps into the chamber, silent as a shadow. He gestures, and two guards bring forth a man. His clothes are torn, his body weary, yet his eyes are calm, resigned. He lies upon the rack without resistance, as though he has walked this path in dreams many times before. The ropes are tied to his wrists, then to his ankles. The hooded figure places his hand upon the lever. For a moment, all is still. The torches hiss. Water drips faintly from the ceiling. The prisoner exhales. Then, with a slow creak, the rollers turn. The ropes tighten, stretching the man's body inch by inch. His breath hitches, his fingers claw at air. Yet no scream comes. Only a groan, low, drawn out, almost musical in its tone. The sound vibrates in your chest, softer than thunder, heavier than wind. The hooded figure turns the lever again. The man's body lengthens further, shoulders straining, bones shifting under taut skin. A sharper cry escapes him this time, though even that cry softens as it passes through the damp air. The chamber seems to swallow it, leaving behind only the echo, gentle and hollow. The figure stops. The man lies, trembling, sweat beading across his brow, his breath shallow. The punishment is not death, but endurance, body stretched, tested, bent to its limits. And then, as quietly as it began, it ends. The ropes are loosened. The man is lifted from the rack, his body slack, his face pale but alive. He is led away, disappearing into the darkness of another corridor. The rack stands empty again, its ropes swaying slightly, like the pendulum of a clock after it has been touched. You step closer. You run your hand gently across the polished wood. It is smooth, almost warm under the torchlight. For a moment, you imagine your own body there, stretched, your own breath echoing through the chamber. Yet the thought does not frighten you. It lulls you, as though you are swaying with the ropes themselves, drawn into the rhythm of tension and release. A faint draft brushes past you, carrying with it the scent of old iron. You follow it, passing into a narrower hall. The torchlight fades, replaced by deeper shadows. The walls grow colder, rougher, until at last you find yourself before another door, smaller, set with cruel iron spikes. It groans as it opens, and you step inside. The chamber here is smaller, round, with only a single torch fixed high above. In the center stands a tall shape of iron, gleaming darkly. The Iron Maiden. It towers before you, like a coffin on legs, its front carved with the shape of a woman. Serene face, closed eyes, and arms crossed as if in prayer. Yet you know what lies inside. Spikes, long and sharp, hidden behind the false embrace of its arms. The hooded figure is here as well. He opens the door of the maiden, and you glimpse the cruel interior, the iron teeth waiting in silence. A prisoner is brought forward, trembling now, eyes wide with fear. His body is pressed inside, the door swung shut. There is no scream. The spikes pierce Cleano, holding him in place, stealing the breath before it can rise to sound. Only a faint sigh escapes, so faint you wonder if it is real, or only your own imagination. The door closes. The maiden stands silent again, his carved face serene, untroubled, as though nothing has happened at all. You stand there, listening. The torch flickers. The air shifts. You can almost hear the iron whispering, its voice a blend of cold metal and memory. You close your eyes and breathe. The sound of the rack's ropes, the silence of the maiden, the dripping of water, all merge into a single rhythm. Slow, gentle, hypnotic. When you open your eyes again, the chamber is empty. The hooded figure has vanished. Only the maiden remains, still and silent, waiting. And you know there is more yet to see. The dungeon is not finished with you. You walk slowly onward, leaving the Iron Maiden behind. The torchlight fades, and the corridor narrows until you must run your hand along the wall to guide your steps. The stones are damp and uneven, their surfaces alive with the cool breath of underground air. Each touch leaves a trace of moisture upon your fingertips, slick and cold, like water drawn from a deep well. The silence is deeper here. Even your footsteps hesitate to echo, as if the darkness is too heavy, too thick to let sound return. You pause, listening. In that pause, you hear something, soft, distant. A murmur? A sigh? Or perhaps only the slow beating of your own heart, sounding larger in the quiet. At last, the corridor opens into another chamber. This one is bare, its walls rough-hewn, the floor of packed earth. In the center gapes a circular hole, ringed with stone, its edges worn smooth by countless hands. You approach cautiously. A rope ladder dangles down into the darkness, disappearing into shadow. It is an oubliette, a pit designed not for torture of the body, but of memory itself. A place where prisoners were lowered and abandoned, left to vanish, to be forgotten. You lean forward, peering into the hole. The air rising from it is heavy, stagnant, flavored with dust and stone. For a moment, you think you hear voices, soft, broken whispers drifting upward. You cannot tell if they are real, or if your mind is weaving them from the silence. The hooded figure is here again. He motions silently, and guards bring forth a prisoner. A woman this time, her dress torn, her hair matted. She does not cry out, does not resist. Her eyes are empty, as though she has already stepped into another world. Without ceremony, she is lowered into the pit. The rope creaks as it slides through calloused hands. Her form descends slowly, the flickering torchlight painting her face one last time before she vanishes into the dark below. The rope is pulled back up, coiled neatly at the edge. Then nothing, only silence. You stare into the oubliette, the void unbroken. You imagine what it must feel like to be there, alone, in a chamber without doors, without light, where time itself dissolves. Each second stretching longer than the rack, sharper than the maiden's spikes. No end but forgetting, no punishment but absence. You close your eyes, and in that stillness, you feel the dungeon around you breathe. The dripping water, the shiver of stone, the hum of silence. They all weave together into a low lullaby. The air presses close, heavy, yet strangely comforting, as though wrapping you in a cloak of shadows. And then, faintly, you hear it. A whisper. Not from the guards, not from the hooded figure, but from below. A voice, soft and fragile, rising from the oubliette. It speaks no words you understand, only syllables broken and frayed, like threads worn thin. Yet its rhythm is soothing, almost like the murmur of waves against a shore. Another whisper joins it, then another. Soon a chorus of forgotten voices hums upward, so faint you must hold your breath to hear. They do not cry for release. They do not curse their fate. They simply murmur, their tones weaving together, like the notes of a distant hymn. You sit upon the stone rim of the pit, listening. The voices rise and fall, a soft cadence that lulls you deeper into stillness. Each breath you take matches their rhythm. Each beat of your heart settles into their quiet song. You could remain here forever, listening to those who were left behind. But the hooded figure gestures again, and the voices fade. The torchlight flickers, the chamber shifts. The oubliette waits in silence once more, as though it has sealed away its secrets. You rise, your body heavy, your thoughts slower now, wrapped in the calm of this underground world. As you turn back towards the corridor, you feel the dungeon closing around you, not cruelly, but gently, like a great stone hand guiding you along. Step by step, you return through the halls, past the Iron Maiden, past the rack, past the dripping stones, the faint trails of water. The dungeon is vast, yet every chamber feels connected, each punishment a different verse in the same quiet song. At last, you reach a stairway, spiraling upward. You place your hand upon the cold rail of stone and begin to climb. Each step echoes softly, the sound floating upward, lighter now, as though you are carrying the whispers of the dungeon with you. When you reach the top, you pause. You glance back. The stair vanishes into shadow. The air above is warmer, brighter. Yet you know the dungeon remains below, timeless and patient, holding its whispers for those who listen. You close your eyes one final time. You hear again the ropes creaking, the iron sighing, the whispers rising from the oubliette. They weave together, gentle, hypnotic, carrying you towards silence. The dungeon breathes. The dungeon remembers. The dungeon forgets. And you drift with it, into stillness, into sleep. You awaken not in a dungeon, nor in a narrow cell, but beneath the pale light of dawn. The air is sharp and cool, carrying the faint smell of smoke and dew. Around you, a wide field stretches, its grass wet beneath your feet, and beyond it, a wooden platform rises, simple yet solemn, set in the heart of a waiting crowd. The people gather early, whispering in low tones, their cloaks wrapped close against the morning chill. Their faces are solemn, yet their eyes burn with anticipation. For today, justice will not be decided by man, but by God himself. Today, someone will face an ordeal. You step closer, moving between villagers who murmur prayers under their breath. A woman clutches a rosary, her lips moving silently over the beads. A child peeks from behind his father's cloak, his wide eyes fixed upon the wooden stage. And there, upon the platform, stands the priest, his robes heavy with embroidered crosses, his voice rising like incense into the cool air. God is just, he proclaims, the echo of his words carrying over the hushed crowd. He will reveal the truth. He will not allow the guilty to hide, nor the innocent to suffer. The first ordeal is of fire. Before you lies a bed of glowing embers, still red from the night's preparation. Heat rises in waves, warping the air, carrying the sharp, dry scent of charred wood. The villagers lean forward, breathless, as a man is led forth, his hands bound, his face pale. He is accused of theft, though no one is certain of his guilt. The priest sprinkles holy water upon the embers, the hiss of steam rising like a sigh. He blesses them with the sign of the cross. Then the man is commanded to walk across, barefoot. You feel the silence of the crowd press close as he takes his first step. The hiss of skin against coals is soft, almost too soft. Yet it seems to echo louder than any shout. He does not cry out, only clenches his jaw and forces one foot before the other, each step slower, heavier. By the time he reaches the other side, his body trembles with pain, and the smell of burned flesh lingers in the air. The crowd does not jeer, does not applaud. They only wait, for the trial is not decided today. His wounds will be wrapped, bound with clean linen. In 3 days, the priest will examine them. If they fester, it is proof of guilt. If they heal cleanly, then God has shown his mercy. You stand among them, your heart heavy, your skin prickling from the heat of the fire, from the weight of belief that hovers in the air. The people do not question this justice. They trust that God himself has spoken through flame and flesh. The priest raises his hands again. Now, he says, the ordeal of water. The crowd shifts, following him toward the edge of the field, where a wide pond lies still and dark beneath the morning light. Mist curls above its surface, and the smell of earth and damp reeds drifts in the air. A wooden beam extends into the water, and beside it, ropes are coiled, ready to bind. Here stands a woman, accused of witchcraft. Her hair is tangled, her eyes fierce, though fear trembles beneath her steady gaze. Her arms are tied, her legs bound. She will be lowered into the pond, cast upon the water. The priest speaks once more. If she sinks, the water accepts her, and she is innocent. If she floats, the water rejects her, and she is guilty. The people nod, whispering, crossing themselves. You feel their tension, their desperate need for certainty. For them, there is no cruelty here, only the hand of God revealing truth. The woman is pushed forward, her body stiff. She is lifted onto the beam, and with a single motion, the guards tip her into the pond. The water splashes, rippling outward. For a moment, she vanishes beneath the surface. Silence grips the crowd. Then, slowly, her body rises, her bound form floating like a bundle of reeds. Her face breaks the surface, her eyes wide, gasping for air. She does not sink. Gasps ripple through the villagers. Some cross themselves again. Others whisper prayers. Still others murmur accusations. To them, the water has spoken. The priest declares, the water rejects her. She is guilty. Your chest tightens as you watch her struggle, her body turning upon the dark surface of the pond. There is no outcry, no resistance. The people accept the verdict as they would the rising of the sun. God has judged, and so it must be. Slowly, you step back from the edge, your heart heavy with the weight of what you've seen. The air is colder now, the mist clinging to your skin, the whispers of the villagers curling around you like smoke. You realize, as you stand there, that these ordeals are not only punishments, but prayers, rituals where faith and fear entwine. Each ember, each ripple of water, is believed to carry the voice of heaven. And you, caught within it, feel that voice press against your own thoughts, your own doubts, until the line between belief and silence begins to blur. The priest raises his hand once more, as if to call the people back into stillness. The crowd hushes. The field quiets. Even the pond lies calm again, its surface smooth as glass. And you, standing among them, know there is more yet to witness. The sun has risen higher now, a pale disk behind thin clouds. The field feels warmer, though a faint chill still lingers in the shadows. The villagers move once more toward the wooden platform. Their faces are calm, as if they are not gathered to watch pain, but to witness the voice of heaven reveal its truth. Upon the stage, the priest speaks again, his tone solemn and heavy. Now comes the ordeal by hot iron. A chest of iron tools is carried forth. The lid creaks as it opens, and inside lies a bar of metal, black and solid. The villagers murmur, children stretching on tiptoe to glimpse it. The priest lifts the iron with gloved hands, holding it high before the crowd. He blesses it with holy water, sprinkles it with salt. and makes the sign of the cross. Then it is placed into the fire. The flames crackle, licking at the iron. Slowly, its surface begins to glow. First a dull red, then a brighter hue, until it blazes with a white heat that hums in the silence. The air smells of ash and singed wood. Even where you stand, you feel the warmth upon your face, like the breath of some unseen furnace. The accused is led forward, a young man, no more than 20, with eyes that dart like a cornered animal's. He has been charged with perjury, swearing falsely in a dispute over land. The villagers watch him closely, some with pity, others with quiet suspicion. The priest explains, the man must carry the hot iron in his bare hands, 3 measured paces across the platform. His palms will then be bound and sealed. After 3 days, his wounds will be examined. If they're clean, he is innocent. If not, God has revealed his guilt. The iron is lifted from the fire. It shines bright, its edges shimmering with heat. 2 guards bring it forward, placing it before the young man. The crowd leans closer, breathless, yet hushed. The priest's voice is low, steady, like the toll of a distant bell. Take it, and let God's judgment be known. The man hesitates, his face pale, sweat shining on his brow. His hands tremble as he reaches forward. The iron hisses faintly as his skin meets its surface, and the sound slithers into your ears like a whisper. He staggers, clutching the bar, his jaw tight, his eyes squeezed shut. 1 step. The hiss grows louder, the smell of burning flesh stinging the air. 2 steps. The crowd is utterly silent, as though all the world is holding its breath. 3 steps. He releases the iron, dropping it upon the platform with a heavy clang. His hands are red, blistered, trembling violently. He collapses to his knees, gasping, and the guards lift him away. The priest signals, and his wounds are wrapped in linen, sealed with wax and a holy emblem. The verdict will not come today. Like the others, his body will speak in days to come. The people accept this with bowed heads, murmuring prayers, nodding solemnly, as if they have truly heard God's voice echo in the crackle of fire and the hiss of burned flesh. You stand still, the echo of the clang still ringing in your ears, the image of his hands burned into your mind. Around you, the villagers seem calm, too calm. For them, these ordeals are not cruelty, but certainty, the only bridge between mortal doubt and divine truth. The sun shifts higher, spilling a pale golden light across the field. The crowd begins to disperse, footsteps crunching over the grass, voices rising in low conversation. Some speak with relief, others with lingering unease, but none question the verdicts. Faith is woven into their bones, and to doubt it would be to doubt the very order of the world. You walk slowly from the platform, your body heavy, your senses filled with the lingering heat of the iron, the cold weight of water, the shimmer of fire. Every sound is sharper, every smell more vivid. Smoke clinging to cloaks, damp earth by the pond, the faint sweetness of trampled grass beneath your feet. As the villagers scatter, you find yourself drawn away toward a quiet place beyond the field. There, an old oak tree stretches wide, its branches heavy with leaves that whisper in the soft wind. Beneath its shade, you sit upon the roots, feeling their rough texture beneath your hands, hearing the distant murmur of voices fade into stillness. The day has been long. Though it is still morning, it feels as though you have lived through lifetimes. Fire, water, iron, each one heavy upon your chest, pressing deeper into your thoughts. You close your eyes for a moment. Behind your eyelids, you see again the man crossing the embers, the woman floating upon the pond, the young man clutching the iron. Their faces blur, their voices silent, yet their presence lingers like ghosts upon the air. A breeze passes through the branches, carrying the rustle of leaves, the faint hum of insects in the grass. The world softens. The field seems distant, the villagers forgotten, the judgments fading into echoes. You breathe slowly, deeply, letting the air cool your skin, letting the quiet surround you like a cloak. And as you sit there, the silence becomes deeper, fuller, as though the world itself has hushed. The ordeals were meant to reveal truth. Yet to you, they reveal something else. The fragility of faith, the weight of fear, the way human hearts cling to certainty, no matter how painful. The thought lingers, like a gentle whisper, even as your body begins to relax. Your limbs grow heavier, your breath slower. The rustling of the leaves becomes softer, rhythmic, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. Your eyes drift closed once more. The field, the fire, the pond, the iron, all of it slips away, dissolving into the stillness of dreams. And there, in that quiet, you are at peace. When next you awaken within this living tapestry of the past, you find yourself standing at the edge of a bustling market square. The air is alive with sound, traders calling out their wares, the clatter of hooves upon cobblestone, the laughter of children darting between stalls, the scents of roasted chestnuts, of fresh bread, of damp wool and tanned leather swirl together in the warm air, pulling you deeper into the life of this medieval town. Yet among the stalls and voices, your gaze is drawn to something at the very heart of the square. A wooden structure rises there, simple but unmistakable. The pillory. Heavy beams, thick iron hinges, holes carved for neck and wrists. A stage not for performance, but for humiliation. The crowd knows it well. People drift toward it almost unconsciously, their conversations falling to a hush. Soon, a murmur ripples through the market. Another sentence is about to be carried out. You feel the press of bodies as villagers gather, pushing closer, craning their necks. Children tug at their mothers' sleeves, men lean on staffs, women pull shawls tighter against the morning air. There is no malice in their faces, only a strange expectancy, as though they have come not to see cruelty, but to affirm order, to remind themselves of what lies beyond the boundaries of obedience. A figure is led forth, flanked by guards. It is a woman, her dress plain but dirt-streaked, her face pale with shame. She has been convicted, the whispers say, of cheating the measures at her stall, selling short weight, deceiving neighbors in trade. Not a crime to draw blood, but enough to stain her name. She is placed within the pillory. The heavy wooden board is lifted, lowered again, locking her neck and wrists in place. The iron clasps shut with a dull clank that echoes in the square. She cannot move now, cannot hide her face. All she can do is endure. The crowd exhales as one, as though some great tension has been released. Some begin to laugh softly, nudging one another. Others only watch, quiet, curious. The punishment here is not pain, but exposure, a stripping away of dignity. As the sun climbs higher, the square grows louder. Children throw pebbles, not hard, but sharp enough to sting. A boy tosses a rotten apple, which bursts wetly against her shoulder, dripping down her sleeve. The crowd chuckles. The woman lowers her eyes, her cheeks flushed red. She does not cry out, does not plead. Her silence is its own shield, though fragile. You feel the rhythm of the square around you, the shuffling of feet on stone, the low hum of voices, the thud of fruit striking wood, the occasional caw of a crow overhead. Each sound lingers in your ears, blending into a strange melody, mockery woven with routine, cruelty softened by custom. An hour passes, maybe more. The sun glints against the pillory, warming the wood, painting her face in harsh light. Sweat glistens on her brow. Her arms grow stiff, her legs tremble, but she remains fixed, unyielding. The villagers, at last, begin to drift away. Their curiosity is sated, their duty fulfilled. The square resumes its bustle. Merchants call again. Children chase one another. Dogs bark near butchers' stalls. Yet the woman still stands, locked within her wooden frame, left alone with her shame. You linger, watching her quiet endurance. The punishment here is not in the blows, nor the jeers, but in the waiting, in the slow passage of time under the weight of 100 eyes. At last, guards return. The clasps are opened, the wood lifted. She stumbles as she is freed, her arms heavy, her neck sore. She does not look at the crowd, does not speak. She simply walks away, her steps slow, her figure soon lost in the winding alleys of the town. The pillory stands empty once more, waiting, patient, like a stage between plays. You breathe deeply, the scents of the market filling your chest again. Bread, smoke, wool. Around you, life continues, yet something lingers within you, the echo of her bowed head, the stillness of her silence. The theater of shame is not loud. It does not bleed. It whispers softly. The eyes of others are heavier than chains, sharper than whips, longer lasting than any wound. As you step back from the square, the hum of the market fades. Your feet find the edges of the town, where the cobblestones give way to grass, where the noise of trade gives way to the softer songs of birds in the hedgerows. You pause, listening to the shift of the world. The crowd is behind you, yet their presence clings like a shadow. The pillory still stands in your mind, a wooden frame etched against the brightness of the square. You carry it with you, its silence ringing louder than the laughter of the crowd, its weight pressing gently upon your thoughts. And in that silence, you realize you are tired, your body heavy, your breath slow, your thoughts blurring at the edges. The day has been long, the voices many, the sights heavy. Now all seems to soften, to blur, as though the world itself is drawing a curtain across the stage. You close your eyes, and for a moment, it feels as if you, too, are leaning into the wood, resting your neck, surrendering to stillness. When you open your eyes again, the square has changed. The sun is lower now, throwing long shadows across the cobblestones, gilding the rooftops with orange light. The pillory, empty not long ago, now bears another prisoner. This time, it is not a woman, but a young man, perhaps no older than 20. His hair is wild, his tunic torn, his eyes full of restless fire. The whispers tell of brawling, of drunken fists thrown in the tavern, of broken mugs and broken teeth. Disorder, loud and violent, punished now by stillness. He thrashes at first, testing the iron hinges. His neck strains against the wood. His wrists twist within their frames. But the pillory does not yield. Slowly, his struggles fade into panting breaths, his head bowing as the weight of the wood settles upon his shoulders. The crowd gathers again, though smaller now. Evening is near, and many return to hearths and suppers. Yet enough remain to make his shame complete. Boys laugh loudly, imitating his flailing. A woman clucks her tongue, muttering about wasted youth. An older man spits near the wood, shaking his head as if to say, "This is what comes of folly." The young man's fire cools quickly. His breaths become slower, heavier. His shoulders slump. The pillory does not need hours to tame him. It requires only his own exhaustion. And so, his punishment becomes a mirror. In his stillness, he must face himself. The market smells stronger now, tinged with smoke from cook fires, with the bitter tang of ale spilled upon stones. Somewhere nearby, a fiddler begins to play a tune, soft and winding, the notes carrying across the square. It is not a melody for mockery, nor for grief. It is only life continuing, music wrapping gently around punishment, softening its edges. You stand close enough to hear the young man's breath, slow and uneven, to see the faint tremor of his hands as they grow numb. He He does not look at anyone now. His eyes are fixed downward, at nothing, perhaps at his own shame reflected in the dust. Time passes strangely here. The longer you watch, the less you know whether minutes or hours slip by. The light deepens, the air cools, torches are lit along the edges of the square. The crowd thins further, until only a few remain, leaning on canes, speaking in low voices. At last, the guards come again. The iron clasps are unfastened. The wood is lifted. The young man collapses forward, caught by rough hands, steadied before he falls. His legs shake as he is led away, his head bowed. No jeers follow him. No fruit is thrown. There is only the quiet scrape of boots on stone, the creak of the pillory closing empty once more. The stage stands waiting. You realize, slowly, that this place is more than punishment. It is theater, ritual, a play repeated again and again, each role filled by different faces, yet the meaning unchanged. The pillory does not break bones, but it breaks pride. It does not draw blood, but it bleeds the self. And the audience, these villagers, need it as much as the law does. They gather not only to mock, but to witness, to see, and in seeing, to measure themselves against the line. Each stone of the square, each timber of the frame, carries the memory of countless faces bowed in shame. You step closer, almost able to touch the wood. It is rough, splintered, scarred with marks of weather and of restless hands. Yet it is strangely quiet now, an emptiness heavy with memory. The torches flicker, their smoke curling into the night. The stalls are closing. Merchants pack away baskets, tying cloths over crates. Children are called home. The fiddler's tune fades into silence. The square exhales, settling into calm. You, too, feel a heaviness pressing gently upon you, not cruel, but insistent. Your breath grows slower, your limbs softer. The world around you seems to dim, to blur, as though the night itself is drawing near to cradle you. The pillory, still and patient, stands before you like a monument of wood and shadow. And as you gaze upon it, your own thoughts soften, your body loosens, and a drowsy quiet fills you. It is as if you, too, are being held, not in iron, not in shame, but in the gentle stillness of night, bound only by sleep. The square fades, the torches blur, the sounds drift away one by one, until there is only silence, soft and deep, like a blanket over the world. And you, weary traveler, surrender at last to rest. The night does not last forever. When your eyes open again, you are no longer in the marketplace. The stones beneath your feet are narrower, pressed into the winding curve of an alley. The air here is damp, cooler, heavy with the smell of moss and old wood. The faint drip of water echoes against the walls, as if the stones themselves are breathing. You follow the passage, your footsteps soft upon the uneven ground. Ahead, the alley widens, spilling into a yard enclosed by timber and pale lantern light. It is quieter than the noisy square, yet the quiet is not peace. It hums with expectation, with something heavier. And there, at the center, you see it. A post, worn and scarred, rising from the earth like a tree stripped of bark. Beside it, coils of rope. And on the ground, resting as though waiting for a hand, lies the whip. It is not grand, not gilded. Its leather thongs are dark and plain, frayed at the tips. But its silence carries weight, heavier than chains. For here, shame is not enough. Here, the body itself must remember. Figures gather in the yard, their steps crunching against straw. Some come with solemn faces, others with a glint of cruel anticipation. A magistrate reads from a parchment, his voice flat, almost bored. The crime is simple. Petty theft. A hand too quick in a stall. Bread taken where bread was not given. The punishment, lashes. A man is brought forward. He is neither young nor old, his frame wiry, his clothes plain. His wrists are bound, his back bared to the cold. His head bows, though whether in shame or in preparation, you cannot tell. The rope is looped, the knots fastened, his arms stretched forward against the post. He is made still, and in that stillness, the yard grows quieter still. Only the drip of water, the faint rustle of straw, remain. The whip is lifted. It cuts the air before it cuts the flesh, a hiss sharp enough to raise the hairs on your arms. And then the crack, loud, echoing, tearing the silence in two. The man does not cry out, not at first. His body stiffens, breath caught, as though he would hold in his pain by force of will. But the whip is patient. It falls again and again. Each strike writes a red line upon his skin, each stroke a signature of law. The murmurs of the crowd rise and fall, like waves upon a shore. Some watch with stern faces, believing in justice. Others with restless eyes, tasting cruelty. You stand among them, yet apart. The sound of each lash feels near, too near, echoing not only in the yard, but within you. Sharp, sudden, vibrating in your chest. You feel your breath quicken, your shoulders tense, until you remind yourself to release them, to let the air slip slowly from your lungs. The lashes continue, steady, relentless. The man's silence falters, his breath breaking into ragged groans, low and muffled. His knees tremble, though the ropes hold him upright. The whip leaves not only pain, but memory. Memory he will carry upon his back long after the crowd disperses. And yet, strangely, the yard remains calm. There's no frenzy here, no chaos, only the rhythm of punishment, like a grim heartbeat. The lantern light sways gently in the wind. A dog barks somewhere far off. The world does not pause, even for pain. At last, it ends. The magistrate nods. The lash is lowered. The ropes are untied. Man sags forward, caught by two hands, steadied before he crumples. His steps are slow, his eyes unfocused, as he is led away into the dark. The whip is coiled again, set upon the ground with quiet finality. The post stands empty, its wood glistening faintly where sweat and blood have touched it. And you, traveler, remain. The yard is almost deserted now. Only a few linger, whispering in low tones. The lanterns flicker, casting long, thin shadows that sway across the ground. You draw a slow breath, and the night fills your lungs, cool, damp, laced with the faint metallic tang of blood. And yet, there is stillness here. A strange, unsettling calm. As though the whip has left not only pain upon flesh, but silence upon the air. You close your eyes, and in that darkness, the sound of the lash echoes once more, softer now, like a memory folding into itself. Not harsh, but distant. Not cruel, but fading. A sound already dissolving into the quiet of night. The night does not end there. For though the post stands silent, though the whip has been coiled and laid aside, another shadow moves across the yard. You notice it not at first, for it is subtle, like the brush of wind against your cheek, like the soft flutter of wings in darkness. But then, you feel it. The crowd is not finished. Justice, in this place, is never simple. A second figure is brought forth. This time, it is a woman. Her hair is bound loosely at the nape of her neck, her face drawn but unflinching. The hush that falls now is different from before. The murmurs are sharper, tinged with judgment. Her crime is spoken aloud, gossip, slander, words that cut where no blade has been drawn. And for such words, the lash is not always chosen. For women, another punishment lingers in the shadows, a cousin of the whip, cruel in its own way. The magistrate motions, and from the far side of the yard, attendants bring forward an object you have not seen before. A bridle, fashioned not for horse, but for human. A metal cage, narrow and curved, its front ending in a thin plate that juts inward, meant to press against the tongue. The scold's bridle, they call it, or the brank, a device not of flesh-breaking pain, but of humiliation, silence, and restraint. It glints dully in the lantern light as they approach her. She does not resist. Her eyes close, her breath steady. They lower the cage over her head, fastening the bands around her brow and beneath her chin. When it is secured, she is led forward, stumbling slightly, for the bridle allows little grace. The crowd leans in, whispering, chuckling. For this punishment is not private. She will be walked, paraded through the streets, her silence made visible. Where the whip etched pain into skin, the bridle declares, "Here is one whose tongue has been bound by law." You follow, for somehow your steps move with hers. Through the winding alleys you drift, behind the torchlight and the shuffling feet. The cobbles gleam faintly with dew, the air close and cool. Faces peer from doorways, from windows half open, eyes wide and curious. Some laugh openly, others turn away, unsettled by the sight. The woman walks steadily, but the iron rests heavy upon her. Her shoulders remain squared, her gaze forward. There is no cry of protest, no plea, only the quiet jangle of metal as she moves, only the soft scuff of her shoes against stone. You, too, are silent, for there is something haunting in the way she endures, not with defiance, not with despair, but with a stillness that seems to say, "This, too, shall pass." At last the procession circles back toward the yard. The bridle is unfastened, lifted from her head, its cruel tongue plate sliding free. She exhales, slow and long, as though at last she has returned to herself. The iron is set aside, and with a final word from the magistrate, she is dismissed, her punishment complete. The crowd begins to disperse, their interest spent. Lanterns sway as people drift into the alleys, their voices scattering like leaves in the wind. The yard empties, until only you remain, watching the post, the whip, the iron cage. It is quiet again, and in that quiet, something stirs inside you. For these punishments, so strange, so cruel, are more than relics of law. They are mirrors, reflecting the fears of a people, the fear of hunger that drives a hand to steal, the fear of words that wound, the fear of order unraveling into chaos. Each punishment is not only about the guilty, but about those who watch, about those who believe they are made safer, more secure, by the pain of another. You feel the night deepening, the air thick with mist. The lanterns blur at their edges. The yard itself begins to soften, like parchment dampened by water. The sound of the whip lingers still, faint, fading. The hush of iron upon stone fades too. And soon, all that remains is the rhythm of your own breath, slow and calm, carrying you deeper into quiet. For in the strange theater of medieval justice, you have walked among them, stood beside them, seen their punishments unfold. Yet you are not marked. Your skin is unbroken, your tongue unbound. You are only a witness, drifting through their world like a shadow, untouched. And as you close your eyes once more, the yard dissolves entirely. You feel yourself sinking, as though the earth itself were cradling you. The stones, the straw, the whip, the iron, all fade into nothing. Only the hush of night remains. Only the sound of your own breath. And sleep, gentle, waiting, like a soft hand upon your shoulder. You awaken again, but you never remember falling asleep. The night is heavy, thicker than before, the mist curling close to the ground. When you lift your gaze, you find yourself not in the yard of punishment, nor in the bustling market square, but within the stone walls of a church. The air smells of wax and damp stone. Candles flicker in iron sconces, their flames trembling as though afraid. Rows of wooden benches stretch into shadow. And at the far end, before the altar, men and women gather, their heads bowed, not in prayer, but in judgment. For tonight is no ordinary proceeding. Tonight is an ordeal. A man is brought forward, flanked by 2 clerics. His wrists are bound with rope, though his eyes shine with defiance. His crime is whispered among those gathered, accused of theft, of false oath, of some act the court cannot prove by witness alone. In such cases, truth is not sought by men, but by God himself. The ordeal will decide. The priest steps forward, raising his hand. His voice is solemn, low, like a chant meant to carry across the centuries. He speaks of divine justice, of how God's hand will guide the outcome. The candles sputter, as though stirred by unseen breath. And you feel, deep within, the weight of belief, the way every heart in this chamber seems to rest upon a single idea, that pain itself will tell the truth. The man is led to the altar, where rests a length of iron, a rod, thick and blackened, laid upon glowing embers. Its surface shimmers red, alive with heat. The air above it wavers, trembling, as if the stone floor itself is exhaling. The trial is simple. He must carry the iron, 3 steps, no more. Then his hand will be bound, wrapped, sealed. After days have passed, it will be unwrapped. If the wound heals clean, he is innocent. If festering and foul, he is guilty. The iron is lifted with tongs. Laid upon the altar cloth, its heat sears a dark scar into the linen. The smell of burning fiber coils upward. The man extends his hand, and you feel your own palm tingle, as though your skin knows what is coming. The chamber is silent, utterly, painfully silent. Only the faint hiss of the iron speaks, alive, waiting. The priest murmurs a prayer, and then, with no pause, the iron is set into the man's hand. He grips it. The sizzle is sharp, a sound that cuts through the silence like a blade. His face contorts, though he does not cry out. He steps once, twice, thrice, each footfall heavy, echoing across the chamber. Then, with a gasp, he releases it, the iron clattering against the stone. The smell is thick, burnt flesh, sharp and metallic, mingling with smoke. The clerics quickly bind his hand in linen, wrapping the charred skin out of sight, tying the cloth with trembling fingers. The ordeal is complete. The truth, they believe, is now in God's keeping. The man is led away. The iron lies dark upon the stone, its glow fading, the heat bleeding slowly into silence. You stand there, still as a shadow, the echo of that sizzle lingering in your ears. And even as the chamber begins to clear, as murmurs rise again among the onlookers, you cannot shake the thought. How strange, how fragile, that truth itself should rest upon the way a wound heals. Yet the ordeal is not always fire, for where flames burn, water also waits. The scene shifts again. The church fades, the walls unraveling into mist. The sound of bells tolling fades into the drip of water, echoing deep. Now you stand by a dark pool, carved into the earth, its surface smooth as glass. Torches burn along the walls, their reflections wavering upon the black water. A rope lies coiled nearby, and men gather with solemn faces. Another accused is brought forward. This one is a woman, her hair unbound, her eyes wide but steady. She is accused of witchcraft, of consorting with spirits, of hidden deeds that no proof can touch. And for this, the water will decide. They bind her wrists, her ankles, not tightly, just enough to hold. Then, as a prayer is spoken, they lead her to the edge. The crowd leans close, some whispering, some crossing themselves, all waiting for the miracle or the curse to show itself. For the belief is simple. Water, pure and holy, rejects the guilty. If she sinks, she is innocent, received into its depths. If she floats, she is guilty, cast out, unnatural. The rope is looped about her waist, and with a nod, they push her forward. The splash breaks the silence. The cold spreads outward, rippling to the edges of the pool. You feel it against your own skin, chilling, heavy. She disappears beneath the surface, her dress billowing like pale smoke. For a breath, nothing. Then she rises, slowly, gently. Her body bobs upon the surface, buoyed by the water. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Fingers point, lips whisper, guilty. The rope is tugged, pulling her back to the stones. She coughs, water spilling from her lips, her body shivering in the torchlight. But the eyes that meet yours, for just an instant, are not defeated. They are sharp, questioning, alive. And as the crowd draws her away, as the verdict settles like dust in the air, you realize the ordeal is not only a test for the accused, it is a mirror for all who watch, for their fears, their faith, their hunger for certainty. The water stills, the torches hiss, and once more, silence gathers like mist around you. The pool of water fades from sight, like ink dissolving into parchment. The stone floor beneath your feet shifts, becoming damp earth. The torches vanish, replaced by lanterns, swaying in the night air. You find yourself in a clearing just outside the village walls, where a crowd gathers beneath the watch of a pale moon. The ordeal continues here, beneath open sky. A line of villagers stretches before you, their faces dimly lit. Some are curious, some fearful, and some almost eager, as if the night promises them spectacle rather than truth. Mothers hold their children close, while old men lean upon their sticks, their eyes glinting with the flame of torches. At the center stands a crude table of wood, and upon it rests a small scale. On one side of the balance, a great Bible lies, its covers bound in leather, its edges clasped with brass. On the other side, an empty space waits. This is the ordeal of the blessed weight. An accused man is brought forth, thin, trembling, his face pale as chalk. He is accused of swearing falsely, though no witness can say for certain. And so, the village priest declares, God shall weigh his truth. The man kneels before the balance. His hand is guided to rest upon the empty side, palm open, fingers splayed against the wood. The Bible upon the opposite side seems heavy, impossibly heavy, though the scale itself is finely balanced. The crowd holds its breath. The priest murmurs a prayer, the words almost lost in the crackle of torches and the rustle of grass. Slowly, the weights settle. The Bible dips, its brass clasps glinting in the firelight. The man's hand presses down, as though his very flesh is being judged. The scale creaks, tilts, wavers. For a long moment, it seems the Bible will prevail, sinking lower, condemning him. Then, just as suddenly, the balance holds, steady, still, neither side falling. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Some call it a miracle, some shake their heads, but all agree. It is a sign. The man is declared free. His truth, they believe, has been proven not by men, but by the weight of God's word. He rises, stumbling, his hand shaking, his eyes wide with disbelief. And as he is led away, you feel something stir in the air. Not certainty, not justice, but a strange quietness, as though the world itself has chosen silence rather than judgment. The ordeal, however, is not always so merciful. The mist curls again, reshaping the world around you. Now you stand at the edge of a forest clearing. A fire blazes at its center, flames licking upward into the night, sparks spiraling into the dark like tiny stars. Around it, villagers stand in a wide circle, their shadows stretching long across the grass. Upon the ground lies a man accused of grave sin, murder, theft, or treason. The whispers differ, but the fear is the same. He is bound at wrists and ankles, though his eyes burn with a kind of desperate defiance. The priest raises a wooden cross. His voice carries over the crackle of fire, steady and commanding. He declares that the accused will walk barefoot across the glowing embers. If he emerges unharmed, his innocence will be known. If his feet burn, his guilt will be sealed. The air is thick with heat. You can feel it against your skin, prickling, pressing. The embers glow white and red, alive with a quiet hiss. The man is released. His bonds fall away. Barefoot, he is led to the edge of the fire. His chest rises and falls, his breath loud in the silence. For a moment, You think he might refuse, collapse, cry out. But instead, he steps forward. One foot presses into the ash, then another. He walks across the bed of flame, his body trembling with the effort. Each step leaves a faint print in the glowing coals. The crowd watches with wide eyes, some whispering prayers, others clenching their fists. When he reaches the other side, he stumbles, collapsing to his knees. The smell of scorched skin rises into the night. His feet are quickly bound in cloth, sealed away until the days pass and his fate is revealed. The fire crackles, spitting sparks. The villagers murmur, some satisfied, some unsettled. For here too, truth is not immediate. It must be waited for, drawn out, left to fester or heal. You stand among them, the heat fading from your skin, replaced by the cool brush of night air. The ordeal has ended, yet its weight lingers heavy in the circle. Slowly, the fire burns low. The crowd disperses, their torches bobbing like stars retreating into darkness. And you are left alone, listening to the hiss of dying embers. In that silence, you feel a strange sensation, one of drifting, as though your body has grown light, as though you might rise like the sparks themselves into the dark sky. Perhaps that is what the ordeals were always meant to be. Not judgments, but bridges, ways of carrying belief from earth to heaven, from doubt to certainty, from human frailty to divine mystery. And yet as you drift further into that quiet, you cannot escape the thought that beneath the faith, beneath the solemn words, there was always fear. Fear that truth might never be known. Fear that life could turn upon a single wound, a single scar, a single step across flame or water. The forest fades. The embers dissolve. Darkness settles soft around you. And in that darkness, you're left with only the whisper of fire, the drip of water, the slow echoing creak of the scales. The ordeals are over, but their silence follows you still. The night deepens around you, and for a moment, there is only silence. Then, a sound rises. Wood creaking, rope swaying, a faint groan that seems to echo across the centuries. When your eyes open, you stand upon a hill outside the medieval town. The grass beneath your feet is damp with dew, though no sun has yet risen. Mist clings to the earth like pale cloth, curling low and heavy. And there, rising from the center of the hill, looms the gallows. Its beams are thick, dark with age and weather, crossbars stretching like a grim arm across the sky. From it dangles a rope, swaying gently, though there is no wind. The creak of the wood is soft, rhythmic, like a whisper repeated over and over again. You are not alone. The villagers climb the hill in a slow procession, torches flickering in their hands, their footsteps muffled in the grass. They come not with celebration, but with resignation, as though this journey has been walked countless times before. Children clutch their mothers' skirts, old men lean on their sticks, and the young move forward with quiet faces, unwilling yet compelled to witness. At the center of the crowd walks the condemned. His hands are bound before him, wrists rubbed raw by the rope. His head hangs low, though sometimes he lifts it, glancing towards the sky, as if searching for a star that might still answer him. His breath is ragged, but his steps steady. He is not dragged. He walks of his own accord. The priest follows close behind, murmuring prayers. The words float into the mist, dissolving almost before they reach your ears. A psalm half sung, half breathed. A promise of mercy that sounds strangely thin against the looming shadow of the gallows. When they reach the hill's crest, the crowd forms a ring, torches raised high, their light dancing upon the wooden frame. The air smells of smoke and damp earth, mixed with the faint tang of iron. The rope, the nails, the tools that built this place. The condemned man is guided to the ladder. His hands tremble, not from fear, but from exhaustion, as though his body has carried more than it can bear. He looks at the crowd, and in the shifting light, you see his eyes, clear, bright, filled not with hatred, but with something gentler. Perhaps sorrow, perhaps forgiveness. The executioner waits by the beam. He is not cruel, not unkind. His face is hidden by shadow, but his movements are practiced, efficient. The rope is tested, the knot examined. There is no malice here, only duty, a task carried out as surely as the baker bakes his bread, or the smith hammers his iron. The crowd murmurs, voices low, some whispering prayers, others reciting fragments of scripture. One or two mutter curses, though even these are weak, carried off by the mist. The priest raises his hand, calling for silence. He speaks words of absolution, his voice trembling, yet steady enough to be heard. He offers the man a final prayer, a last chance to confess, to release his sins into the night air. The condemned closes his eyes. His lips move, though the words are lost. Then, with quiet hands, the rope is placed around his neck. The fibers brush his skin, rough, unyielding. The knot rests against his shoulder. The ladder creaks. The man ascends, one step, then another. Each sound echoes through the still night, louder than a drum. You feel the rhythm in your chest, as though the wood itself is striking your heart. At the top, he pauses. His breath clouds in the air, a faint ghost against the torchlight. He does not weep. He does not plead. He simply waits. The executioner moves quickly. A lever, a board, a step pulled away. The crowd gasps, a sharp intake of breath like a single voice. And then, silence. The rope swings gently, creaking against the beam. The man's body turns slowly, side to side, as though rocked by an unseen tide. His shadow stretches long upon the ground, flickering in the light of the torches. The villagers bow their heads, some cross themselves. A child buries his face in his mother's skirt. The priest lowers his eyes, murmuring once more. The gallows whispers. The rope creaks, the wood groans. You stand among them, the night pressing close, and you feel the weight of centuries. For this is no single death, no single man. It is a memory repeated, a punishment written into the very fabric of the town. The gallows stands not only for justice, but for fear, for obedience, for the fragile balance between law and mercy. The mist thickens, curling around your feet, rising slowly, gently. The torches dim, their flames shrinking to embers. The crowd fades, one by one, their voices dissolving into the night. Soon only the gallows remains, dark and tall, its rope swaying in the unseen wind. And you, still standing, listening to his whispers. The hill dissolves into shadow. The rope vanishes. Darkness settles around you, soft and heavy, like a cloak drawn close. And in that darkness, the whisper continues, softer now, like the turning of pages in an unseen book. The gallows does not forget, and neither, it seems, do you. The mist lingers, thick and soft, wrapping the hill in silence. For a long moment, you stand alone, listening to the gallows sway. The wood creaks like an ancient ship upon a still sea. The rope sighs as though carrying the breath of the departed. Every sound seems endless here, echoing not through space, but through time. And then, like a candle snuffed in an unseen hand, silence. The torches have vanished. The villagers are gone. The priest, the executioner, the condemned. Nothing remains but the lonely frame of wood and rope. And even that begins to dissolve, its edges melting into the fog. You blink, and the world shifts. Beneath your feet, the damp grass is gone, replaced with cool stone. The mist parts to reveal not a hill, but narrow streets once more. The walls of the medieval town rise up around you. Timbered houses, cobblestone paths, lanterns glowing faintly in the night. The scent of smoke and bread returns, warm and grounding. It is as though the town itself is welcoming you back, gently, without fanfare. Your footsteps echo softly as you walk, the cobblestones cool beneath your soles. Each step carries you further from the gallows, further from the heavy rope and creaking wood, further from judgment and shadow. The air grows lighter, softer, touched with the faint perfume of lavender drifting from an open window above. Somewhere, a lute is playing. A simple tune, slow and sweet, drifting through the night air like a lullaby. Its notes weave into the sound of your breath, into the rhythm of your steps. The houses grow taller as you wander, their beams bending close, leaning like old friends to whisper. You do not hear words, but you feel their meaning. Farewell, traveler. Go in peace. Remember, but do not carry the weight too heavily. Your path leads you toward the town's heart, a square you have walked before. The market stalls are empty now, their tables bare, their canopies tied down for the night. Only a fountain remains awake, its water trickling gently, catching the faint glow of moonlight. You pause beside it. The stone is cool beneath your fingertips, smooth from centuries of touch. The water sings softly, a song without beginning or end. You lean closer, gazing into the pool. For a moment, it shows only the moon, rippling white and silver. Then, just faintly, you glimpse reflections of all that you have seen. The stocks and pillories, the shame parades, the dark chambers, the scaffold, the gallows. They shimmer across the water's surface like fragments of a dream, breaking apart with each ripple until they are nothing more than ripples themselves. The night sighs, the fountain whispers, and you feel the world shifting once more. The cobblestones blur beneath you, their shapes softening into shadow. The fountain's trickle becomes the hush of a distant rain. The lute's music fades into the beating of your own heart. The houses dissolve into mist, their beams and windows melting away like brushstrokes in water. The medieval town, with all its secrets, all its punishments, all its whispers, folds itself gently into darkness. And you feel yourself drifting. The stone beneath you becomes something softer. The cool air grows warmer, calmer, filled with the quiet familiarity of your own world. The echoes of the past sink into silence, leaving only the slow rhythm of your breath, the gentle weight of the present. It is as though you have been carried through centuries, through shadows and stories, only to return home. The gallows no longer whispers, the stocks no longer creak, the pillory no longer mocks. Only peace remains. You take a long breath, in slow and steady, out gentle and complete. The past is behind you now, sealed in its own time, where it will remain, waiting for those who wish to listen, but no longer clinging to you. You are here, now, safe. The darkness around you is no longer heavy, no longer shadowed. It is soft, protective, like a blanket drawn close. The faintest hum of night surrounds you, lulling, cradling. And as your eyes grow heavy, you realize the journey has ended. The medieval town is quiet. The punishments are echoes. The whispers are only dreams. And you, traveler of time, can finally rest. Sleep comes gently, like mist rolling down a silent hill, wrapping you in its calm. The stories fade. The centuries dissolve. And in their place, there is only silence, only peace, only sleep. Listen now, traveler. Your journey through the narrow streets and shadowed squares has ended. You have walked beside villagers. You have stood before the scaffold. You have witnessed strange punishments and heavy judgments. You have seen fear, shame, and sorrow, but also the quiet resilience of those who endured. And yet, all of it remains far behind you now. The medieval town has folded itself away, back into the pages of time. The torches are dark, the gallows empty, the pillory silent. No more whispers, no more eyes watching. Only memory, drifting like smoke into the night. You've returned to your own time, to your own body, to your own breath. Feel it now. In, soft and deep. Out, calm and slow. The world around you is safe, still, quiet. And though the echoes of the past may linger in your thoughts, they cannot touch you here. They are stories, only stories that live and fade with the turning of time. Here, there is only peace. Here, there is only rest. Let the weight of centuries slip away. Let your body sink deeper, softer. Let your mind drift gently, like a boat upon calm waters. The story has ended. Your eyes grow heavy. Sleep is waiting. Close them now, traveler. The night is yours. Sleep well, sleep deeply, and dream softly until the morning comes.